So, so when you when you started in 2016, now it's 2019.
Right.
So what kind of reactions you have seen? What are the patterns that you have observed so far till 2019?
Massive change. I think till the end of 2016, the conventional wisdom was this is not going to work. You know, most of the investment that has happened in this space is last year and this year, 2018 and 2019. Till I think middle of 2017, no one was convinced direct is going to work. To be very honest, most of the feedback we used to get was, "Why will this work? You know, everyone needs a advisor." And while we said, "Yeah, everyone needs an advisor," and we are a digital advisor, we don't want to be a transaction platform. We want to be able to tell you these invest in these funds, rebalance in this way, so on and so forth, right? And that started changing once people started kind of experimenting with different platforms, not just ours. So it was a collective effort. At one point, I think there were some 30 plus odd online investment platforms. Probably 5 to 6 are still talked about or are still in the fray. But everyone put in a lot of time and effort to educate users that robo advisory does not mean that this is just a transaction platform and that then we are not going to help you with anything. And slowly we started seeing that change. I think there were early adopters. Word of mouth has been a very big factor for us, maybe not so for some of our other competitors. Some other guys really innovated on how you market robo advisory services, right? Using different channels to kind of reach the end user. So over time, and I think because of the effort that a lot of people have put in, awareness has gone up a lot. Right? A lot of big players have come into the market recently, right? Like last year, ET Money went direct and also free. Paytm launched a free direct plan platform. So that awareness has started to now tilt the tide. The backdrop in all of this has been that SEBI has firmly kind of said, not in so many words, that direct plans are here to stay. That they want to see a long-term future where an investor can decide to either pay commission or not pay commission. So regulatory backdrop has been very helpful for us. So that's how the narrative has changed. Now it's almost common to be using or to be evaluating 2 or 3 different robo advisors and then deciding this one is the best for my needs.
And among your customer base, who forms the largest chunk of your consumer base, like who are investing through Kuvera and all?
So for us, a typical investor profile, I would say about, from the data we have so far, 32 years old, married, unfortunately still predominantly male, 85% men, 15% women. I think that is a number that needs to grow. A lot more working women should be investing directly, and we try and kind of push for it as and when we can. Usually rents, has kids, so that's kind of the average.
What about profession? Do you have categories?
Service. So fewer businessmen, more of them are getting monthly paychecks. We do not break it down into which industry they are working in, but yeah,
okay.
Service. Yeah.
And have you ever come across, you must be getting reactions and the queries from the different, like among your consumer base. Have you ever come across queries that reflects the misconceptions people are harboring in relation to the investment and all of the things?
All the time. I think mutual funds have not been missold as much as insurance has, for example. But people do, try and try and find an edge. I'll give you a very simple example, and that will become very clear to you, right? So direct plans and regular plans. So for those who don't know the difference, in India, a mutual fund can be a direct plan mutual fund or a regular plan mutual fund. The regular plan mutual fund, the expense ratio has an inbuilt commission that goes to the advisor. So for example,
what is that expense ratio? Can you tell us to our viewers?
So a regular plan expense ratio, say if it's around 2.25% or 2.5%, the direct plan, the expense ratio for the same fund will be about say 1.5%, right, or 1%. So there will be a 1% to 1.25% differential in the expense ratio of a direct fund and a regular plan fund. So now what that means is that your direct plan fund NAV will grow faster than your regular plan NAV, because your direct plan is effectively returning 1% more or 1.25% more per annum. All good, all great, good maths. Now, we have had many questions where a broker will come in and say the direct plan is more expensive because its NAV is higher, so you should buy a regular plan. Now, for a user who does not understand the compounding and the fact that the direct plan NAV is higher because it has given higher returns, and that gap is going to increase because the direct plan is going to continue to give higher returns, will be sold on that. They will say, yes, direct plan has 30 NAV and regular plan has 25 NAV. I'll buy the 25, it's cheaper. So that still happens. Very surprising, but that still happens. So a lot of education is still around kind of, these minutiae on how compounding works. How just because it has a higher NAV does not mean it is the expensive product. It's actually the cheaper product. And the higher NAV and that NAV gap will keep on increasing, right? So that this is one example. So a lot of that still happens. We keep writing a lot in our blogs, or whenever we get a platform to talk about it on some of the mis-selling, that still continues. It's coming down though. I definitely think that with all the efforts that we have spent, that the entire ecosystem has spent on educating the end investor is working, will continue to work. So, but there'll always be challenges here and there.
And moving away from these investment questions, my next question is that we are seeing a downturn in the economy, like the slowdown, and like we are witnessing that people are not spending much.
Right.
So are you seeing a downturn in investment as well, because people are not having, people are not spending? So are you witnessing a sort of pattern in which people are not investing much?
So the data so far does not suggest a slowdown. It is plateaued. So if you look at the SIP investment, it is plateaued at around 8,200 crores per month for the last 3 or 4 months. It's not going up as it used to month on month basis, but people are still investing. If we look at our own data set, we don't see people stopping SIPs or people looking to withdraw any more than the churn we used to see earlier. There is a steady state churn. People will stop one SIP, start another SIP, or people will withdraw money because they have cash flow needs. That's why you're investing. So we're not seeing any material jump on any of those numbers. There was some data that came out, that there is a consumption slowdown. I think the story started with auto, and then there was this whole big debate about Parle-G. But then the recent data you have gotten around the whole festive season is that Chroma, the year-over-year sales up 20% in the festive season. Maruti selling some 60,000 cars over the past 10 days. Now, one of the constructs that we are now kind of thinking of is something that happened in China is happening in India. So China has this November 11 sale, right? It used to be called Singles Day sale, and now it's become this massive day where all e-commerce sites and even offline retailers have their sales on that day. And what was seen in China was that there was a seasonal shift in spending to align to that sale. So basically saying that if I want to buy a car in August, and then I know that in October a big sale is coming, will I postpone my purchase? Right? Will I wait for that? And more likely than not, I will. I will not postpone it from January to October. That's too big a gap. But 1 or 2 months people will wait. So now the question for us that we want to kind of get an answer for, and I think we'll have to see at least 3-4 more data points for the trend to kind of emerge, is whether what we are seeing in Dhanteras is green shoots, or is there a shift in purchase that is happening because people already know that a discount season is going to come. It has happened in China, so people's behavior can materially change if there is a big event that is going to happen and everyone knows it's going to happen. In August, you already know that the car you are going to buy will be running a discount in October. It's not a question of will they, won't they. You know they will. So you're better off waiting, right? So it's not very clear in our head that there is a structural slowdown yet. I think a few more data points will probably make it clear.
So at this point of time, as Kuvera is a financial advisory platform, so at this point on, what would be your suggestion for people in which avenue they should park their money in? What are the in which platform and in which avenue they will get good returns? Like, what are your various suggestions to the people?
See, platforms, of course, Kuvera goes without saying, but I think the biggest thing here is have a well diversified portfolio, right? I mean, if anyone who does goal planning on our platform, we recommend a 5 fund portfolio. Two of them are index funds. There is an international fund, there is a value biased fund, and there is a liquid fund, right, which is your debt component of your portfolio. So the first thing is don't have a very large portfolio. If you have 15 funds, then it's very hard for you to track or make any sense of it. Have 4 or 5 funds. Ensure that the funds are taking different kinds of risk. So simply put, 4 large cap funds is not adding any value to your portfolio, right? So if you have 1 large cap fund, 1 mid-cap fund, one say ELSS multi-cap fund, makes sense. Do have some international exposure. Do try and kind of diversify to risk sources which are outside the country. We include one international fund in our model portfolio. Have some allocation to gold. Gold has been known to be a very good diversifier, especially in bad times. When the economy tanks, when the stock market is doing very badly, gold will shine. Gold also has INR depreciation benefits because it's priced in USD. If INR depreciates, the price of gold in Indian rupees goes up. Kind of it balances out that INR depreciation. Real estate is a good is also a good part of your portfolio, but size it correctly. Don't have 80% of your wealth in real estate, because real estate has always been a multi-generational asset class. Someone in your lineage will get benefit from owning real estate. For example, no one ever complains my grandfather bought so many properties. They might complain they bought a lot of properties and now nothing is appreciating. But everyone whose grandfather bought a lot of properties are probably just rent seekers. They're living out of the rental income and have great life. So remember that about real estate. Size it correctly. 15 to 20% of your portfolio makes a lot of sense. But if real estate becomes 70-80% of your portfolio, then you're too dependent on real estate performing in the near term, which it may not. Over generations, it will perform. Right, so that's how we think about it. I think have a well-diversified portfolio, have multiple sources of risk, and size them correctly.
And at last, I would like to ask you: in next 3-4 years, where do you see Kuvera?
So we will keep on evolving. We recently launched gold as a new asset class, digital gold as a new asset class on our platform. We are going to keep on evolving on that paradigm. We want to become a more holistic personal finance manager for our clients. Right, something that ultra HNIs had access to, where there would be an individual who could come in and say, you have so much in real estate, so much in gold, so much in stocks, so much in international stocks. We want to be able to do that for the mass market, where we should be able to kind of tell them, you have so much in FDs, maybe you have too much in FDs, maybe you want to reduce it, or maybe you have nothing in FDs or liquid funds, maybe you want to change that. So we want to use technology to be able to bring that holistic overview of what your portfolio looks like to any and every individual. And I think that's where the biggest delta is in terms of how people manage the portfolios or how people get better outcomes in their life.
Thank you, Mr. Gaurav. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, Rajat. Happy to be here.